No.
Okay, good. Because I was hot last time. Hello. Hey, everyone.
Are we live? We here.
Yeah, we're live.
Yep.
Happy Wednesday. How are you?
Happy Wednesday it is. Fabulous over here.
We have a special person in the room with us today. Well, she's always in the room.
I'm just in the background.
She's always
with us, but she's really with us now.
Yes, we welcome Miss Katharine Bennett, who is our executive producer and just an awesome person. We're going to have her hosting with us today. Special guest co-host. Do you have any special words or?
I'm just happy to be here, from not behind the boards this time. So really excited about today's show. I am missing Gigi though.
I know.
Yeah.
Shout out to Gigi. She's going to be
That's my partner in crime.
Yeah, she is your partner in crime. She's going to be on a brief hiatus for the moment, but she'll be back with us and always there to support and always helping us come up with great topics and whatnot. So yeah, I'm excited about moving forward and all the special guest co-hosts that we're going to have.
Yeah, super excited about that. We have a lot of a great lineup in store.
Yeah, y'all stay tuned. So I'm going to pass it on to Miss Katharine.
All right, so unfortunately, we are starting the show off on a rather sad note. So DMX remains in a coma after suffering a heart attack last week. So his manager told NBC and other news outlets that he's going to undergo further tests on his brain functions to see, I guess that's going to be a vital sign of whether or not, I don't want to say if he will survive, but kind of the future in his outlook. So an individual was held for him outside of the hospital, and he's just continuing to fight for his life. I don't know about you guys, but I love DMX. I used to listen to DMX. I have older siblings who are about 10 years older than me. So I grew up with that era of music. So how are you guys feeling about that?
The same. For me, especially growing up in the era of Tupac, like when DMX came out, he was kind of like the next best thing because he was spiritual, he was motivational, and he was raw, like always, honest about mental health, when it came to his mental and he was a great actor, he great rapper, of course, and a poet, really. We don't have too many poets in the industry, especially nowadays. So, I mean, I'm really sad. I'm praying that he pushes through and he pulls through and, check in on your people, especially those that have addictions and have mental disabilities. And he just seems sad lately, to be honest, in his interviews and stuff. He seems kind of sad and it really breaks my heart, but I'm praying.
Yeah, I agree. I think that what's even more sad is if you hear about how he became addicted, to drugs. That he said it was a story about his mentor actually, or someone he looked up to, laced something that he was smoking, and that's how he became addicted. He was only 14 years old, so. But even through all of that, he remained like an inspiration, just really raw and honest. Christian, how are you feeling about it?
Oh yeah, I think with DMX, I was raised on DMX. I remember listening to him in I think it was middle school. What was it? Flesh of my flesh and blood of my blood.
Yeah.
Classic.
So that whole album, it is a sad thing to see, one of those that you admire and that you listen to go into, such a critical time, especially health-wise and mentally. But it hasn't been just like it wasn't a sporadic moment. This has been happening and spiraling down for years, right? So it sucks because, I think he reached out for help. He tried to get help. People have tried to help him as well. Not saying that this is his fault, but I'm just saying more so people deal with stuff that we have no idea what they're dealing with. And so it's very wise for us, or in our best favor, to always keep people in prayer. Like you were saying, Sharik, we don't know, they ain't paying our bills. So, but at the end of the day, they are still people and they're humans. So for me, it's just always this level of compassion that we want to express and exude. So, praying for him and his family for sure.
Yeah.
What about you?
I feel the same way. It's really sad. Again, I grew up on him as well. And it reminds me a lot of the Whitney Houston situation.
Yes.
Like you said, of somebody that we kind of know has been going through these type of problems, been dealing with addiction, trying to get off of it, and just an idol of ours, just somebody that we all looked up to, their music, and even more so their inspiration. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, Kat, the raw honesty, the ruggedness that you don't see a lot of. So prayers up. wishing for the best, but just speaks to drug addiction and mental illness in our communities. It's really sad.
Another thing too, I think it really speaks to fame, you know, and he spoke about it a lot, especially when I watched there's like a Rough Riders web documentary that came out, I think on BET or something like that. And he missed just being able to go and do what he pleased and be a person, you know, a lot of the pressures of fame. And he was saying, you know, people coming out of the woodwork claiming they were his cousin, wanting money, you know, I can imagine, especially someone who was already dealing with issues, the weight that bears on that person. So, you know, keep that in mind for all of you who are seeking that fame and notoriety. Make sure you got your head on straight, and you know, whatever you pray to, whoever you pray to, that you're in tune with that, because it gets real out here, especially if you're the breadwinner of your family. Ooh, child.
Exactly. I think that begs the larger question of, like, you know, like we're saying, fame, Hollywood, going into these levels and these different rooms of, you know, I don't want to say satanic worship and stuff like that, but there are other levels behind the scenes that we don't really know of. What happens in the music industry? I know growing up in the church, they used to talk about what is that group called? Starts with the I.
Illuminati.
Illuminati. So you talk about Illuminati. I'm not saying DMX is a part of it. I'm just saying that, like, there are sects and stuff behind the scenes. Hey, we don't know all of it. But I know that
we went from crack to Illuminati.
Right.
Crack is crack, but all right.
Hey, you don't know what your worship is getting entangled with, and what's happening. And drugs is usually involved with, you know, music, drugs, sex, and rock and roll is what they used to say back in the day. So Lord knows what happens behind the scenes. Like you were saying earlier, Lawrence, you know, with the Whitney Houston thing, you know, it is a sad case because a lot of people chase this fame.
Yeah.
They want to be famous. They think this is great money, but what comes along with it, right? Like, what kind of pressure comes along with it? I don't know, and I don't think I want to know.
Right. I think, like, with DMX, it was more than fame too. I think that definitely added to it, but also the environment he grew up with, the type of people he had for role models. You know, he has a good heart and a good spirit, from what I know, from what I've seen. So it's just really sad that, you know, this is overall a really tragic thing. So we're going to move on to our next topic. This is a little bit more lighthearted, especially for those of us who are looking to get out for the summer, at least for the Californians, at least. So go to you, Christian.
Yeah, definitely. This is a lighter mood in a way for some. California plans to lift most of COVID restrictions in June 15th. So we're dealing with California just really fully reopening on June 15th. So Newsom said on Tuesday that the state will reopen its economy by June 15th. What is this?
July.
April? Yeah, I know, right? It's April 7th. We got a while to go. But he said that provided that the coronavirus vaccine and hospitalization cases remain stable. And so what I've been reading and what I've been listening to on the news is I think we've reached over 20 million vaccines in this state. And so, you know, just basically beginning to, like, plan for our lives post-pandemic and what does that look like? And with Governor Newsom, with all the things that we've been implementing, he's been very strategic, even though, you know, some people do not like Governor Newsom. They're trying to recall him. I feel like this has never happened before. So how much, you know, how can we hold on to this high accountability stature when this has never happened? So I would applaud Newsom because he has been doing the best that he could do with it. But I also am excited about us just fully opening. And I want to change that date on there. I think our thing says July 15th, but it should be June 15th. So just letting you guys know that June 15th, it is going to open. I'm excited. I already got vaccine number 1. My arm was hurting for a couple days. So I'm ready for vaccine number 2. People have been taking the Johnson & Johnson one, the one-shotter, for 2 days, you know, 2 or 3 days. Yeah, that's what I've been hearing. My brother took it, and he was down for a couple of days. Guess it was like a little sick thing that's added to it. So, I mean, I like to travel, y'all. And I know y'all like to travel.
Yeah.
I like to go to places.
You know, Lawrence like to travel. Right.
Yeah. That's why we travel.
You know? I'm surprised Christian didn't have it the first day it was out. Like, I knew you was getting that to go travel.
Hey, we was all skeptical.
We was all skeptical. Everybody was. But like I said from the beginning, I'm not taking it until I'm traveling. So I haven't taken it yet. I have a vacation booked in a couple months, so I'll have it within a couple months, and I'm good to go. Everybody's talking about a potential for, the vaccine passport, and if you got your paperwork, don't laminate it yet because they want to see originals, all that type of stuff. All I care about is opening up. I think it's a good thing. At least we'll be able to go to bowling alleys, movie theaters. Even if you're not traveling out the country, we can do stuff. I see Texas is completely open. Like, they had a full packed baseball stadium the other day. They said, we've been open. I don't know about the rest of y'all. So I'm excited, except for the work part. I just had a work meeting earlier today, and I'm like, At first, I wanted to go back to work, but since it's been so long, I got used to working remotely. Now the thought of like having to go to an office every day, like 5 days a week, I'm like, where they do that at? I'm like, I used to do that. I used to go to the office 5-6 days a week. I'm like, oh, nah, man, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Right.
6-7, man. It's hard.
We're gonna talk about that workplace balance on one of these episodes.
Yeah.
For me, I think I'm happy. I'm proud of California because they was talking bad on us for a little bit. We were the epicenter, quote unquote. So I'm super proud of us. I rock with Gavin Newsom. I don't care what anybody say. I think he gonna run for president one day and he will get my vote. I don't care. That's my homie in my head, so whatever. But I'm excited to see. I'm still slightly nervous. And then have you guys heard that the vaccine supposedly is only supposed to last for like 6 to 9 months?
Yes.
So I'm I'm still a little uneasy about that. And then for my own personal reasons, because of my own medical issues, I haven't, decided to take the vaccine yet. But I love that we've been talking about this for so long on our show, because I can see kind of the transition in our mindsets as individuals and how we look at it. So we'll see what happens.
I told y'all I was gonna take it while y'all was talking all of that anti-vax. All of y'all, Gigi was here too. Everybody gonna take it. I told y'all. Run the tape back. Matter of fact, we need to get some clips from the old episodes. I told you y'all gonna take it.
We'll get clips for the next episode when we talk about it for sure.
I am definitely. I have reneged my. I won't take it. I am taking it because I am going to Greece this summer. I am traveling.
Hey.
I'm taking the vaccine. But I wanted to talk about the Johnson & Johnson and the Pfizer, the difference between the two. So I know in our community, I don't know what kind of community you guys, but in lower income communities, that there's like a less likelihood of someone coming back for the second dose of vaccine. So that's why they are administering the Johnson & Johnson in those communities. That's what I've heard. So how do you guys feel about that? The difference of, Pfizer being more available in other communities and Johnson & Johnson being pushed in these low socioeconomic communities.
Well, this is the first time I've heard of that. So, I mean, it's new on my ears. I feel like, because I believe some people, my friends in South Central and Compton, they've had access to Pfizer and Moderna more. So this is something interesting about Johnson & Johnson. A lot of my actual elected official friends and stuff, they're getting Johnson & Johnson because it's like a one and done. Mm-hmm. So I think people want that one and done versus the 2-shotter. I want the 2-1 with the ones that have the most high rate. So that's why I'm going what I'm doing. I take my time.
Nice. Interesting. Hey, I feel like everybody gonna be set tripping like, hey, what shot you got, cuz? Right. You're on mine.
Yeah.
Right. The battle of the companies.
Yeah, I didn't hear about that, but this was the look of not surprised, and when we talk about Compton, yes, Compton is the hood, but in California in general, I would say we're mostly metropolitan in these areas. So I'm wondering if it's like a difference in these low income communities that are not so heavily saturated, in terms of, populated within the urban cities or the larger demographics. So I definitely will look into that, but I'm not surprised. I'm just not surprised.
Well, y'all said y'all didn't want it. So I'm just saying, if you said you didn't even want it, and now you saying you're going to come back for 2 shots, it makes sense. Give people the jump. I heard it specifically with the underhoused community because they're like the most likely, like really, really low income or that have like housing instability. So I feel like that makes sense. Especially if you're not going to be able to find people or track people or they don't have a mailbox to remind them or phones and stuff. But be careful what you wish for. When people are out here talking about, I don't want no shot, I'm not going to take it. Then when resources don't come to your community, it's hard to get them to come because you've already, when they make their charts and they project how many doses we're going to need, they're like, let's skip over this community because this community said they didn't want it. And now we with our hands out. I'm like, I want it. I've been saying it the whole time. Bring it. I ain't even taking it yet, but bring it to. I want the AstraZeneca. I want the Johnson and Johnson. I want all four. I'm only taking one. I want all the options. So at least we don't run into these type of situations where if we do want something, we don't have access to it. So I'm thankful that I've heard a lot of what Christian has said. At least a lot of people I know have had access to the Moderna. And hopefully that'll continue moving forward. I know there are some like new strands, but thankfully, knock on wood, all the new like morphs are still, or the vaccines now are still effective on the new strands. We'll see what it's like next year or the year after. We're just hoping we can get to the point where the activity level is so low, we won't have a big spike next year. So knock on wood.
Definitely.
Well, I'm excited for California to reopen, and I think that's something we all agree on. And speaking of the government, Matt Gaetz has had some really strong allegations against him. So, Sharik, you want to speak on that?
Oh, yes. Oh, Republicans. Oh, Republicans. Don't you love them and the irony that they display on a constant basis? Right. So for those of you who haven't heard or don't know who Matt Gaetz is, he is a Republican representative, very actively and outwardly a supporter of Trump all the way through, thin and thin, does not care. That's his homeboy. So much so that when the gentleman or Representative Matt Gaetz has been under investigation by the Justice Department over allegations of a relationship with a 17-year-old girl, which includes sex trafficking because he was paying for her to get flued out when he were going places. Wow. That's not good, Mr. Gaetz. Right. He at some point did ask for a blanketed pardon from Trump while Trump was still in office. The irony of this is just ridiculous. Again, my face of not surprise when it comes to Republicans who are not calling for him to step down. He is not resigning. He is staying on his podium and he's not going anywhere. And it's just really, like I said, we all know what's happening with Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York. And now everyone is calling for him to step down. Even Democrats have said, you need to step down. He, again, is not stepping down. His allegations are nowhere near as serious as this. I don't want to play Olympics with sexual assault, but sex trafficking of a 17-year-old minor is, to me, far more just relentless and malicious than, some allegations at a party or within his cohorts, within his colleagues. There can be, some semantics there. However, if you all remember Senator Al Franken from Minnesota, he was one of my favorite senators. I really did like him. He had some pictures that had came out with him, I guess, groping a woman on a camera or on a plane or something of that nature. And Democrats asked for him to step down and he obliged. So I just really think that this is more of the irony within the two parties and the differences within the two parties. And when they say, how can you always play the party system? I'm like, well, when it comes to morality, it seems as though the Democrats, for the most part, like to stand up and be the moral body, whereas you don't see the same thing with the Republicans. So I try not to be, show my bias so much. But when it comes to this and when it comes to young girls, I don't play that. So what do you guys think about the situation?
I'm just disgusted. And I think the Republicans definitely need to hold themselves, one of their own accountable for this. It's not something that they need to condone, and they need to go ahead and step up and, force him to resign.
Definitely. I like how you said the morale, right? I think there's a lot of morality issues that persist in the Republican Party, and it really is kind of frightening because this isn't the first time, and just in politics in general, they just some nasty people. Some people are just so nasty. I don't get it. If you're stop messing with underage kids. It's not that hard. Go find somebody else. It's disgusting. I think that if you put your sister into that situation, your niece into that situation, I personally would be irate and upset. And I would want, to sue somebody, or somebody has to pay for it, because it's just not, it's not respectable. It's not respectful. It's just not the right way to go. And I'm very confused on why they think that this is okay, and I think, like you said, when people hold Democrats accountable, they actually step down or they walk, same thing with Katie Hill out here. There's a lot of videos and pictures up here in the Santa Clarita area where, she did some stuff, but they held her accountable and she ended up stepping down from the office. And when you're into this politic world and when you're into this realm and you're a public servant at the end of the day. So these politicians need to remember that they are a public servant. You're serving your community. And if you're not getting that, and lost on, you know, where they lost it at.
Yeah, I think public servant or not, like, don't sleep with someone that is underage, you know?
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
So you know how last week we were talking about the Lil Nas X thing, and you know one of the talking points for people who are so against were like the kids,
Yeah.
and most of them are of the conservative base. More irony, you care so much about the kids, but
Right.
you're okay with these allegations of him sleeping with a 17-year-old?
Yep.
Listen. I agree that any type of pedophile, any type of like child sex, anything is completely ridiculous. You need to serve your time. You need to like be done with. I will push back on this party lines. Let me tell you, a pedophile, it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. I feel like they're across the board. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, people were listening to R. Kelly up until like a year and a half ago. You know what I'm saying? And like Andrew Cuomo, the president still hasn't asked for him to step down. You know, the vice president hasn't asked for him to step down. So like, yes, the Republicans in a lot of ways can play that like Bible thumper card and, you know, pro-life, all this other stuff. But when it comes to this, like, I just think across party lines, I feel like both parties, everybody in politics, really everybody in the celebrity realm, when it comes to like child sex charges, that it's not handled right and not handled correctly. And there needs to be more swift action across the board with this. Now, if it's like, I think you even alluded to it, I hate to play like politics of what's more right and what's more wrong, but I'm just going to straight up say it. If there's a situation of potential sexual assault of adults, to me, it's maybe we can like sit here and talk about this because we're both adults. But if it's a child thing, it's like immediate. You need to step down. Like there's no with Cuomo, I'm like, all right, you want to wait till, you know, it plays itself out, innocent until proven guilty, all of that, cool. And if you are proven guilty, then automatically you step down. But with kids, you need to step down immediately, and then we'll worry about getting your job back later. Like there's no room for this across the board, in my opinion. You know,
couldn't have said it better myself.
I agree completely. All right, before we get into today's topic, we are going to talk about Biden looking into canceling student debt. So, Lawrence, can you tell us a little bit more about that? I know I'm excited about this.
So this is a good segue into our topic today. We're going to be talking about education, higher learning today. President Biden, on the campaign trail, alluded to potentially alleviating some of the student loan debt on the backs of individuals like me. Now, throughout his campaign, he wasn't very clear about it, but, you know, some of the more liberal, like the AOCs, came out and said, and Elizabeth Warren, you need to cancel $50,000 in debt. He was like, he really didn't say anything about it. As soon as he got elected, he came out and was like, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm not canceling $50,000 worth of debt for people that already went to Harvard and Yale and make all this money. I'm like, wow, that hurt my soul. I didn't go to Harvard and Yale, but that hurt my soul. So now the conversation is back up again. He's already tried to push through, as everybody should have got their $1,400 stimulus package. And part of that was an ability to cancel some student loan debt. Now, the student loan debt that he canceled were people that have like permanent disabilities. So let's say you went to school to be a nurse and you have like debilitating arthritis or something happened to you physically and you can't, then they'll cancel your student loan debt on that. What we're talking about now is having a more broad or more comprehensive plan where we do try to go over that AOC idea of canceling up to $50,000 in student loan debt for everybody. And, you know, some people, these are Democrats and Republicans, are saying, no, you don't need to do that, especially for people that make a whole bunch of money. My argument is that if you're looking at it from a Republican or a conservative standpoint, if you alleviate a student loan debt, specifically my student loan debt, then I'm spending more in the economy. I'm paying more in taxes. It does better for everybody else. If you alleviate the student loan debt of somebody that doesn't make that much, and it's really like stopping them from growing, it's helping them take care of their families, their kids. It's helping them buy a car to get to work. It's helping them keep a roof over their head to buy a suit to get to work. So for every way, shape, or form, I'm like, they should cancel student loan debt. And if nothing else, you can cancel the interest. I can see if I borrow money, but you don't need to be charging me 7%, 8% interest on my student loan debt. Forget that. That's a no-brainer to me. So that's where we're at now. It's still on the table, and we'll see. I'm about to be calling my local politicians, you know what I'm saying, telling them, hey, tell Biden I need this. This is the reason why, one of the reasons why I voted for you. But how do you guys feel about it? Do you feel like they should cancel it, or do you feel that if you borrowed it and you agreed to it, you kind of owe it?
I think we can all unanimously say that we want that off our credit report, like quick fast and
Yes.
Credit Karma be, you know, making me sad on a regular basis every time I look at it, you know, but it's one of those things, and we're going to get into it, of course. They're, you know, just looking at first generation college students, which I am, you know, a lot of us didn't come in with a silver spoon or a silver platter. We had to really work hard. And just, to me, the predatory tactics of these loan officers and people, like, why is Wells Fargo on my campus? I couldn't get a credit card or a line of credit in any other situation. So why are you coming at me? You know, and just, to me, I think that needs to be also looked into on, you know, on a deeper level in regards to the predatory tactics of these loans. And I hope he does the right thing, Biden. Again, this is why I voted for you. Do I think this is going to happen within his term, this 4-year term? I'm not going to hold my breath, but I think the fact that we're actually realistically having a conversation about it now is hopeful for me. So we'll see.
Go ahead. You want to go, Katharine?
No, I was saying, I wanted to hear your thoughts.
Oh, I definitely think, without a shadow of a doubt, please take my debt away. Please take it away. Yes, we're doing good as young urban professionals, but that debt will allow us so much more room. Our credit can grow. You know, it can, like you said, stimulate the economy. But if anything, you know, if you don't want to give it to nobody else, give it to Black people. Give it to us as a form of reparations. You know, anything, please clear our debt, because we shouldn't be paying for none of this. We barely are taught our history, and you want us to give you interest on top? No, give me my money and all of everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like Sharik said, we are unanimous in this decision. And I pulled up a couple of facts just about the student loan debt by race. So 4 years after graduation, 48% of Black students owe an average of 12.5% more than they borrowed. That is a lot. Like, I know I owe about $15,000 more in debt than what I graduated with because of the interest rate. So like Lauren said, at least cancel the interest rates, but cancel it all together. Give us our reparations in that form. I will be happy with that. We need to go ahead and get, because I feel like it hinders more than anyone the African American and the Black community, mainly us. And
the fact,
so let's just get rid of it altogether. So that is a good segue into our topic for today, Blackademics. So our degree is needed for success. I know all of us on here have our college degrees. Some of us have master's degrees. So let's jump into it. What are your thoughts?
I want to hear Lawrence first.
I have a lot to say about this topic. I was really excited that we were going to pick this topic today. I guess I'll jump right into it. I'll give a brief summary. I believe that you don't need college to be successful. No one needs it. Now, there are a lot of people going to college. You know, this year alone, UCLA had more applicants than any other time in history. Colleges are more difficult to get into than ever before. And if you want to go to college, and if you see that as an avenue, please take it. Please take the opportunities, because there's so much that goes into it. I'm the biggest Gary Vee fan. I don't know if you know who he is. He's an entrepreneur, and he talks about not going to college. And he's like, he dropped out of high school, was a really bad student, ended up going the business route, was like an angel investor, and now he's a multimillionaire. There's different routes to being successful in life. I advocate for going to school, and really it's like going to college for at least 1 year, just so you can get the experience, the interpersonal communication, and you can have a shared experience with a lot of people that are going to be in the professional world. A lot of the successful people in the world have gone to college, and because of that, at least 1 year. I'm not saying stay all 4. I'm not saying do any of that, but having a dorm experience. To me, it's like almost like going to prom. I remember I didn't want to go to prom in high school, but my mom was like, just go so that you'll have something to talk about later on in life. So is it necessary for success? Absolutely not. Do I promote it? Yes. And the one final thing I'll say, I had a lot of people telling me when because I had a tumultuous path through school. I dropped out of high school, got my GED, went back to community college, went back to a 4-year, went back again, got my JD law degree. I was in school for a long time. So my grandma used to come and tell me, how long are you going to be in school? Like, you still doing that? And like, oh, it ain't going to be no, you want to be a lawyer? Ain't no jobs out there. I got a job. There's plenty of jobs out. So don't listen to people that haven't gone through it. Be very careful. Do what you want to do. But there are a lot of people giving the best information they have, but at the same time, they don't really know what it's like on the other side unless they've been there. So ask people that have either gone to college or ask people in the career and field that you want to go into. That's my brief synopsis. So I got a lot to talk about. If that was my brief one.
Yeah, how do y'all feel? I guess I'll go, and then I'd love to hear Christian's point of view too. For me, as a creative, I kind of come from a different perspective. What is it, the left brain or right brain people? Something like that. I don't necessarily subscribe to that, but I definitely think that there is a difference in terms of our education and how we're treated within the educational system. I would say for me as a creative, even from, what I felt from the administration at the different universities that I went to, I felt as though my dreams and my aspirations were not necessarily taken as seriously. And I think that, trade schools are great. A lot of people look down upon those as well. But I feel as those who knew exactly what they wanted to do and they were able to have that clear line and that pathway, and whatever trade school, most of them, they provide opportunities for you afterward. I think that that's amazing. For me, a four-year university, yes, I got those experiences. I did 2 years at San Jose State, which was like real life college, dorms, all the kickbacks, all the functioning. I didn't do so well my freshman year because of that. I'm not going to lie. I partied way too hard. Not going to lie. But then I ended up at what would be called a commuter four-year university at Cal State LA, where I was able to I was on a quarter system. I'd like to think that I have a shorter attention span. So quarter systems definitely worked a whole lot better for me because I was in there and I was out. But overall, I would just say as a creative, I didn't feel as though I was really getting the most out of it. The prerequisites to me were dumb. Like I said, I'm a creative. Why am I learning about earthquakes and seismic, whatever? That stuff just did not appeal to me. And because of that, it made my grades go down. I was stressed out. I had to work extra hard. I had to retake classes in the summer. And all I want to do is just be creative and learn how to be in that field and to be creative. And when I got out of undergrad, I graduated and I, was going back and forth with going to get my master's. And I was burnt out, you guys, to be completely honest. I was so burnt out. I had nightmares about being in school. And just the idea of having to go back in order to succeed in my field was just very, on top of the debt, because I know grad school is way more expensive, was just, it was disheartening for me. And sometimes I still kind of struggle. I'm not too old to go back, but within my career now, I felt it was good for me to kind of establish myself, work towards the things that I want to work towards. Could I have maybe had more opportunities and had that network had I gone to school? Possibly. Yes, I think so. But it just wasn't for me at the end of the day. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm not done yet. We'll see.
There you go. Yeah, definitely. So I'm ready. Okay, let's play devil's advocate. School is definitely a necessity. Schooling is definitely a necessity. You think about all of our stories and our life's experiences and trauma. I know I went to school later in life, so went back around 24, 25. I mean that you don't have to necessarily go right after 18. I mean, at 18 or after high school, at least try to go get it done. That's why I encourage everyone to go get a degree. Like Lauren said, a year, I prefer you go in there, at least get your AA, go in there, do your BA or something like that. As an educator, as a teacher, as someone that's hugely involved with the academic world, it is like a huge responsibility of ours to really encourage our younger generation to go and get these degrees, right? Because if we are not in these spaces, how are we going to be able to teach other people about people of our culture and our experiences about even moving forward even further? And so when we look at success, when we look at like the future, it has to involve a level of education. Now, I get that there are certain people that did not go to school and they made, their millions of dollars and they did. But that is a small, minute population, similar to those that get into basketball, get into to music world, get into football, all these different sports. Same thing with those entrepreneurs. And so education is really a for sure way of you getting some type of income, some type of money, making sure that you add value to your net value. And so when we think about it, we have to realize that a degree can really, really put you up for success. Now, granted, there are people that are out there that got degrees that are not thriving as they would like or would have hoped. Even when I got out of school with my master's, I remember me and Lawrence was studying for the LSAT. I want to be a lawyer. Yes, I'm going to do it. And I did not do good on that LSAT. So I'm like, God, what in the world? What is going to happen? And so when I took it, I thought I passed. I'm like, yeah, I killed that. I called Lawrence and everything. Yeah, got the score back. Was crying. Like, okay. So then I had to flip it, right? And so I applied to MA program, JD program. Didn't get into the JD program, but I got into my master's program. My plan B became my plan A. So now with my master's, I was able to like flourish and do all this other stuff, but I didn't know what I was going to do after I got my master's, And so after schooling, it was a little rough, but however, things are like chiming up. People are calling, you're getting your expertise on different things. These degrees can really, really help you. And even the network that you build in these colleges, me and Lawrence can attest to it. I mean, UCLA by itself has afforded us so many different opportunities. It's ridiculous. I mean, we get calls left and right from people that we went to school with, and your network is your network. So your network is your network, 100%. And so I'll leave that right there, but I do believe that it is a necessity.
I completely agree with all of you. I worked at a university at one point in my career, so I'm a huge proponent of just at least getting a bachelor's, getting an AA at the very minimum, because I know for me, it changed my life. Like at 28, I became the director of marketing for one of the largest nonprofits because I had my degree, because of that doorway, because of the network that I built in college. Had I not gone to college, I don't know if my life would be the same. So for me, it opened a lot of doors. It helped me learn how to network because I got into college not knowing how to build those business relationships and kind of nurture that type of thing, especially as a marketer in communications. You need that net. So even though, like Sharik said, we're on the artistic side, it helps us business-wide. Like Sharik is running a whole business, and I'm sure that contributes some of what to her degree gave her. So do you guys feel like being Black, we need to be educated? Is that something that we can afford to not have when we want to step into these careers or these different fields?
100%.
This is a loaded question. Go ahead, Lawrence. You go first.
Yeah, so do we need to be educated? Yes. Do we need a degree? It depends. I think the elephant in the room, and I'll just say it, I do not advise that people go to schools that aren't highly ranked. I'm completely against these Trump universities, the ITT Techs, the for-profit schools. There's a huge difference. And I feel like those schools take advantage of people. Their accreditation isn't there. And if you don't know what that means, it's when employers look at you or when other institutions look at your degree, if it's not accredited by a national organization, if it's not one of these top schools, the top 100, the top 200 school, they'll look at that degree as like not much. Yet you still have to pay that student loan debt. So right. I think the first thing I'll say is that and this is what I would tell my kids or any mentees or anybody, try to go to the highest ranked school you can, or a school that specializes in what you want to do. From there, get the education, use this tool, use this piece of paper, use this degree as a form of stability. Before you even get into the money and everything, me having this degree will make sure that I have job opportunities for the rest of my life. I never have to use it. I know plenty of people that have went to law school and are producers or do other completely different things, but I know I can always fall back on it. It's kind of like the trade that my grandparents used to always tell me about. So yes, it's important to have this. And when we bring in the Black aspect, it's going to be really hard to walk into any room and say, hey, give me this amount of money for my movie, give me this amount of money for my business, give me this amount of money for my dream, yet I don't have a degree. And because of the sediments of slavery, we usually don't have the connections. So it's one or the other. I even thought before going back to school, I was like, well, let me at least go to the military so I can get some veteran benefits. And I know a lot of people think that, I want to be able to buy a house one day. I want to be able to, have healthcare. And I don't know if I'll have that security without doing one or the other. So yeah, I think it is necessary, but it's hard to tell somebody that may not do well in school that you need school. It's then what? And then for those people, I say, try to focus on what you think it is you want to do. So if school isn't your thing, you've been trying, you've been going to tutoring, you've really been giving it your all and it's not working out, then yes, a trade school might be the best avenue. And then after that, if that doesn't work, then go straight into your career, but you work your butt off at it. If you got to start as an intern, wherever it's at, start as an intern in that profession and keep working through it.
I have to be honest. Lawrence, you do sound somewhat privileged.
Oh, keep it real with me. Keep it 100.
Privilege there.
Keep it 100.
Be honest, and I say that because yes, ideally we would all love to go to one of these, highly accredited, highly esteemed four-year universities. And I know that you don't mean it like that. I know. But for me, I'll just be honest with you guys about my journey. When I was in high school, mind you, I went to Berkeley High, which was dang near like a university in itself. You're in this high school that has sometimes not even a principal. My graduating class was 1,000. The whole school when I graduated was 4,000. And you're kind of on your own, and I had to navigate and figure myself out. I was head of the BSU. I was the president of the BSU, excuse me. I started one of the academic programs at my high school that's still in put today. I presented it to the board and got it passed. I had a 3.8 GPA, but I was horrible at taking tests. I just was not a test taker. I took the ACTs. I did not want to take the SATs. I revolted against the SATs completely. And because everybody thought I kind of had my stuff together, no one knew. I kind of went under the rug without having to have taken the SATs. And even to this day, I hate the system of standardized testing. To this day, I think it should be long gone and done with, because it's not an accurate measure of a person's capability in the real world. It's just, can you memorize how to do something, or memorize how to articulate something and what something means? So that's my spiel about standardized testing. But that being said, it hindered me so much so that although I had all of these accolades and I had the grades and I people thought I was stellar in the community, because I didn't have the SAT scores, I couldn't get into those schools, and I couldn't get in. And I was told this verbatim, to be completely honest with you. I was told that had you taken the SATs and done well, you probably would have gone to X, Y, and Z. And that's just really disheartening. So I think the overall system, and it hasn't changed in so many years, I think we need to go in, and it's on us too, as the generation that's going to be leading these institutions, even with you, Christian, and having these conversations and, trying to figure out what are these factors that are hindering some of our brightest stars. We don't know who they are. They're out there, but they need help. And me being first generation, to be completely honest, no one was really there to help guide me through the process. And so I wasn't able to afford some of those luxuries of being able to get into some of those highly esteemed establishments. And I wasn't able to position myself in a certain way. I'm not a victim, because I still rose to the occasion. I still did what I had to do. I still graduated with honors and so on and so forth. But, for me, looking back at my career, do I think college dictated how I was going to end up, and it was going to, determine whether or not I would be here in front of you guys today? I can't say that is completely true. But that being said, I do appreciate my social capital that I did build within these institutions. So that's what I took out of it for the most part.
I just want to say something. I have to say one thing just about the privilege comment. Now, and this is why, and it's really not even for me, right? This is for anybody in our audience. And this is something that I felt in the past too. I felt as though only a certain group of people were allowed into these doors. And what I found out is that that's not necessarily true. And like you said, Tariq, I'm sure you've been told that verbatim. I'm sure people try to keep us down and they say that, and it's just not the case. I went to Berkeley High as well. I got kicked out of Berkeley High. I went to Skyline High School. Yeah. And then I went to Skyline after that. I dropped out. I had a 1.6 GPA, got my GED from Edward Shands, went a really long route to going to community college, every single proud to college. I went to every single one and then applied to 30 different schools. My point is that I took these tests, and I'm horrible at test taking too. But if you keep going and if you keep pushing down these doors, there are opportunities. If for nothing else, there's other Black people in those institutions that will give you a hand up. And that's how I was able to do it. But I was just forget it. I'm not doing anything else. I was I'm not good at drug dealing. I'm not good at playing sports. I'm gonna push through this. And my point is, I just want to say to anybody listening, you don't have to do it. Again, I feel where Christian is coming from. I'm not all the way saying you have to go to school, but the one thing that I'm glad that I guess it was just my stubbornness. And I think that the whole world needs to know is that there are opportunities in a non-traditional route, but they don't tell you that. They don't advertise that. Your school counselors won't tell you that, but people need to know that there are those opportunities. For prime example, Christian and we talk about his students all the time, and he'll be like, man, they messing up, but I talk to him. I'm gonna let him redo this. I'm gonna give him an A. There are professors out there that care. You just gotta push through it if that's what you want to do.
So you're saying that you like standardized testing, and you think that we should, that if people keep fighting at it and doing it, that's like a good way of,
I am 1,000,000,000% against standardized testing.
I just want to
I
make
think
sure.
it's dumb, and I think it's racist. I think it is proven to be statistically racist. The type of questions that they ask is complete. We need to do away with it. My only thing is that when you have the standardized test and we're trying to push through these doors, I'm like, take it, even if you don't do well. We both have a friend, Christian and I, that didn't do well on the LSAT, but he's with the law school anyway. He found a way. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? We should do away with it. And we should change that. But I'm like, if you want to push through it, go through it. And if not, I think, Sharik, you're a prime example that like you can start your own career if you have that type of focus in whatever you want to do in life. But I'm sure, Sharik, you've been doing this a long time. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you do, whether it's school, whether it's building your business, that may take us to another topic. But I think people in this generation, because they see these YouTube stars, they see this TikTok stuff, the average individual that is successful in life put decades into what they do. So you got to be patient with whatever it is.
But I also want to think about how college was not designed for Black people and people of color, right? And so we were not privileged with access to these universities with Harvards and the Yales and UCLA's, Cal State LA's, and all this other jazz. And so for us, when we go back to the question, can Black people afford to not be educated? We really, really must rethink this and look at this and break it down and unpack this, as my friends would say, unpack this, because it is it is so vital for everyone to just get some type of degree, education, whatever it is. I think even with trade schools, it's still a form of schooling. And for us, for our ancestors who have died, bled, raped, tortured, lynched, for us not to go to school and to get educated, I mean, this is what Brown versus Board of Education. We were not allowed to go to these places because they already knew your education. It gives you a sense of wealth. It gives you a value system. And so it's so, for me, I'm going to be pro-education for the rest of my life. So I'm going to keep on rolling.
Can we less than you?
Can we talk about HBCUs versus predominantly white colleges? Oh, okay.
I'm just about to ask about. Before we move on to that, I do want to bring Sharik. You had a good point about not, a lot of our community, we don't have access to mentors or teachers or someone to guide us through that college experience and to prepare us to even apply for college. Because I had a similar experience, and that even since we're going on to the topic of HBCUs versus PWIs, I didn't even know about HBCUs. Being one of the first people to go to college, I only had the information that was given to me from my teachers. So when I had a friend that ended up getting accepted into a HBCU, I was like, what is that? What is a HBCU? Because I just knew go to college or don't go to college. Not that there's some, all these different options, that there's historically Black colleges that are catered to nurture us and grow us, and we have really a real community. So that's a really interesting, having that mentorship, and then also knowing the options that you have in high school. So Lawrence, you brought up a good topic. So let's talk about it. What are your guys' thoughts on HBCUs versus PWIs, predominantly white institutions?
Now, just real quick, we're all from California, right? And so there's no HBCU over here. So I understand what Katharine's saying, because I don't think I was taught anything about HBCU. If anything, maybe Howard, but that wasn't on my radar. Yeah.
This is one of those times I wish she was here. Right. Her insight. But go ahead, Lawrence.
So I remember, I don't know if this was at Berkeley High or Skyline. Every year in Oakland, they have an HBCU fair at the Oakland Convention Center. I remember going, the Black College Expo. And I was just excited. I went down there. I saw Greeks for the first time, the Divine Nine. I saw people dancing. I saw beautiful people. I was like, oh yeah, I want to do this. And so that opened my eyes to it. But you're absolutely right, Catherine. There's not a lot of focus. And in high school, we could speak for days about horrible counselors. They just don't tell you oh, you know what? You have a great GPA, but you didn't take this one course. And if you would have taken this one course, you would have been in this school. That happens so many times, whether it's, I didn't know the difference between a UC and a Cal State, and they have different requirements. But I did go to an HBCU for 1 year. I loved it. I went to Dillard University in New Orleans, 7th Ward. It was a beautiful experience. I ended up not doing well there either. And then I ended up leaving and then taking another route. But I'm for HBCUs. But to be blatantly honest, the same way I'm only for top predominantly white institutions, I'm only for top HBCUs. So if you're going to go to, you know, a Howard or a Spelman or, you know, a school like that, then absolutely, like, go there, enjoy your roots, enjoy your heritage, build something for yourself, and then blossom from there. I don't think, me personally, I don't think a Harvard is better than a Howard. I think they're equal to me. So
I think for me, I made a mistake kind of young on, thinking that, you know, I didn't want to be pigeonholed to just being and being amongst the Black community. Growing up and going to Berkeley High, I had so many different types of people that I was friends with, so many different types of communities that I was a part of, and I just loved the diversity. And I was like, okay, I want to be with the diversity. I just don't want to be around just Black people. That was my mindset. And as I've gotten older and as I've looked around, and I'm like, where are all my white friends? And especially within my professional career, I'm like, wait a minute, what happened? And I feel as though I may have missed out on that support system that I see within the HBCUs, especially within the Greek organizations. I know people who are at the top when I used to work at BET, they were at the top at BET. I know somebody that said, oh yeah, that girl got a job because she was an AKA, just period. Do I think that's fair? Not necessarily, but I get it. And, for me, sometimes I'm like, dang, I should have, because I honestly thought that I would have been pigeonholing myself, or I would have just been putting myself in a box. In reality, some people are for the Black community coming together and just thriving amongst ourselves. And I've opened my eyes a little bit more to that possibility. So I'm way more open to it. My niece went down to Texas Southern. I love to, I went with her and helped her move in. It was so exciting. I've been to Bethune-Cookman. I like the food that they have. We didn't have, waffles and fried chicken for breakfast every day. So, I would have loved that, and just to be with the culture. So definitely don't, for those of you who are considering or think, going to HBCU only puts you with your people, it puts you with your people, and then your people are there to support you. I did not have that same support going to these predominantly white universities. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about it.
Yeah, I think, so to echo what you said about Bethune and I think TSU, my nephew goes to KSU, Kentucky State University. First time I went to their homecoming was, I think, 2 years ago. And I tell you, the time of my life, I was like, oh, this is nice, this is beautiful. The architecture, where it's at, of course, it was like, old historically and stuff. But overall, it was just a great experience being around your people. It was a lot of Greek. It was like Greek all around. We kept thinking I was Greek. I'm like, no, I'm just, just a guest, just saying hi. Give me a plate.
GDI, they call that a GDI, a goddamn individual.
Of food. Thank you very much. I got to meet the president of the school. I got to meet the chancellor and whatnot. But it was just overall good experience. Now, historically, HBCUs have not gotten the clout that they should have gotten, or the level of prestige. So when we look at PWIs, yes, PWIs are held at a higher standard when you go and bring your degree into different jobs in different areas. So that's why I think a lot of people put a lot more emphasis, kind of like what Lawrence was saying, like, you want to be in a top tier school. But I feel like time is evolving and changing now to where these HBCUs are getting much more credit than they usually have gotten. And so, like, a lot of my students from my church, I mean, I got one at Hampton, I got one at Virginia, I got one at North Carolina. So all of my students, they're trying to get up out of here. Like, they're trying to move, young, Black, and gifted, and they're like zooming, doing good. Now, some of them didn't have the best experience. However, I feel like with HBCUs, it still gives you the opportunity to build that network. That network is so vital for when you leave school. I'm thankful that I have Lawrence and I have my mentor that taught me how to do stuff in school, Dr. Hunter, right? Because we were able to still push ideas off of one another, build businesses, be able to present all these different things, but also garner enough support to bring in the younger generation after us. And so for HBCUs, I think that they're going to get the credit that they deserve sooner rather than later. They're getting more funding. And so I encourage, if you just want to go to school, go anywhere you want at this point in time and get the best that you want to get. I do agree with Lawrence. You got to research your area of expertise. You got to research what you want to major in and figure out what school best fits you, the environment where it's at, and as well as, like, the top tier of where they're at within the HBCUs. So Morehouse, Clark, Howard, Hamptons, and so yeah, I say go to either or.
Yeah. Christian, that's a good point. As we get more Black people in these leadership roles, I do see HBCUs being more esteemed and people kind of like getting this camaraderie. Oh, you went to Howard, I went to Howard too. Like I see that a lot amongst my Black colleagues.
Because of Kamala Harris, you know, she went to Howard and everyone,
yeah,
getting a lot more support is going to get a lot more money for sure.
Definitely. Yep. Speaking of Kamala Harris, I just pulled up a statistic. As we've alluded to on the show before, Black women are increasingly becoming the most populated group in America, period. Black women only make up 12.7% of the female population in the country. They consistently make up over 50% of the number of Black people who receive post-secondary degrees. So I think that's just remarkable in itself. And that's just a showing of the times. And like you just mentioned Kamala. And I think it's not going to stop. So I encourage people to go to HBCUs. And those of us, even if we didn't go to HBCUs, if you have nieces and kids, and encourage them to fight through that and be with their people. I love it.
Yeah, be with your people at the top HBCUs. Don't be taking yourself down here to, what I'm saying is, I don't want to call anybody out, hurt nobody feeling. If, mom and pop HBCU down in such and such and such, and you're not going to get what you want. And that goes the same for predominantly white institutions too. I wanted to quickly tap on something that Christian said of mentorship. Ever since I met Christian, he's been an individual that will cling to anybody with knowledge. And I mean that in the most positive way. If you have something to offer, if you're a positive individual, he's like, well, hey, how can we build something together? Even if I've seen him, like, it's hard because a lot of times people either think you need to mentor with somebody that's on your level, or you need to like find a mentor that's like way above. Christian will talk to anybody, above, below, anywhere. And I think that's really important because asking those type of questions, seeking out individuals that have gone down the path that you want to go down is really important because it offers you something and it offers you a piece of knowledge. No one in the world will ever be able to tell you exactly what to do to get to where you want to go. But the more people you have giving advice, the more stories that you can build upon, the more roadblocks that you can see that somebody else hit, you can avoid those. And so when it comes to school, whether you go to HBCU or predominantly white institution, whether you're just a career individual, whatever it is, reach out to people. And it can be scary at times, but just do it. Especially nowadays, we got Google and LinkedIn. You can literally I'll go to BET.com and be like, who's the top executive? Email them. And if they don't respond back, email the top 10 people at BET. I bet you if you email 20 people, somebody will respond. If you just, hey, I'm interested, I want to go in this career path. Do you have anything to offer? Those type of things will get you further than you would ever imagine.
Completely agree.
Yeah,
go ahead, Christian.
Go, Katharine. Go.
No, go ahead.
I think mentorship is so necessary, especially because as we are, like we're talking about, we're all, I don't know about you, but I'm first generation. Nobody in my family went to college. Yeah. So us speaking as first generation young urban scholars, I like to just throw that out there. Young urban.
Hey.
All right.
Come through a lot of different lived experiences and shared experiences to where we have this, we should never get to the point to say that we've made it so far that we cannot pull up the next person that's coming behind us. And that is key with education. That's why I push for it so much, because education literally kind of saved my life, because I didn't know what I was doing. I'm out here working 20, 21, 22, working in these different fields. And, I didn't see myself in no substandard position. So I'm thinking I want to be manager. I want to go up here and do all. I couldn't do that without a degree. So I said, you know what? I'm going to step out on faith. I'm going to go back to school, went to community college, transferred. And so, there's different forms and fashions to education to where it can really, really bless somebody's life and those that come after you. When you talk about generational wealth, this is a way of creating that generational wealth.
Absolutely. So before we go to our final thoughts, I just have one last question for everybody. Was the expense worth it?
So it's definitely going to be worth it. As soon as they pass the loans, please.
That's what we need to do. For me, I actually didn't rack up that much. I got out of there under 30,000, which is very rare. I worked my butt off. I was working not graveyard shifts while I was in school. People thought I had another type of job. It wasn't that. I was really working. I was not on the night shift like that. But I worked.
The waitress?
Okay.
Yeah,
the waitress?
Yeah, no, actually, I worked at the airport.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did what I had to do, and thankfully I didn't rack up that much. I was able to get a couple of grants within my institution, so I'm thankful for that. And yeah, I mean, do I think it was worth it? Again, I'm all about social capital, and I will say some of my clients that I have for my business today came through some of my peers that I've met within my institution. So if it's for nothing else, if it was that, then yes. And for nothing else, the fact that I got to hand my grandfather my degree before he died. Sorry, I'm getting emotional. Just being able to do that and to know what my grandparents and what my family went through and to see me succeed, it was worth it.
There we go. I mean, that's perfect.
That's beautiful.
Like we have final thoughts after that. I think for me, it's definitely worth it. I think I accrued about 44,000, but that was because I didn't want to work. I was not working in college.
That's good.
I already spent my years working and stuff. I mean, I had a little different student jobs and whatnot, but my TA-ship being a teaching assistant, but that was something that I love to do anyway. So I didn't really consider it work. So, for me, just like you said, being able to do what my parents or my grandparents was not able to do and be able to do it. And like, I'm telling you, so many doors have been open. I'm cool. I'm grateful. And it's going to continue to open. People are like, you went to UCLA? Oh my God. Blah, blah, blah. Hey, that's why I went there.
What about you, Lawrence?
Okay, it's a 3-part answer. 1, yes, it was worth it. 2, what I mentioned earlier about like these accredited universities, every single student loan now, and this you can thank Obama for this, is federally backed. And the federally backed loans means that they're all mandated to have income-based repayment. So if you go through school and it doesn't work out and you're not making a lot of money, they can only take 15% maximum of your check. That's less than child support. All right. So go for it. Get your degree, whatever it costs. And I was a Christian too. Like at school, I'm like, I'm going to make money afterwards. And if I don't, I just won't pay it back. Like this is numbers in the bank to me. I don't care. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to enjoy it. I went on spring breaks. I lived it up. And then I think it's taboo a lot of times to talk about like your salary. And I think it's really important for underprivileged communities to like talk about these things because it gives us more agency. It lets us know what's out there. So like I accrued, I think $170,000 of student loan debt, and I make over $200,000 a year. So for me, it's like, yeah, I got a lot of debt, but I can pay it off in a few years. It's cool. And I wanted to keep that focus in school because if I was like trying to work, I know myself, if I was trying to work and go at the same time, my grades would have suffered. I wouldn't have done as well. So I'm like, go for it. In worst case scenario, just don't pay it back. It's not a big of a deal. Like if money's your issue, just don't pay. You ain't got it.
That's true.
So,
yeah, it is.
What they gonna do to you? Like you know what I'm saying?
No, them interest rates are hitting for. Katharine, what about you?
For me, it was absolutely worth it. As you all know, I have a daughter. I was pregnant in my last year of college. So to just tell her that when she gets older and show her like, yes, you can do it. And I did it with you in my belly. So to me, like that's something I'm proud of. And to also give that degree to my family, like you said, Sharik, it's a different type of feeling when you come home with that and you get to show them like you did it. So absolutely, it was worth it for me. I would encourage everyone to go to college.
Did y'all cry at y'all graduations? I did.
I didn't. I'm not a crier.
I was bawling.
Oh, I definitely cried.
I
was boohooing.
I didn't even cry when I gave birth. I'm just like,
oh, you're just a thug, Katharine.
You know. So that brings us to our final thoughts. I know we kind of already summed it up, but I'll start with you, Christian.
Yeah, definitely. I'll leave out with this quote: education is the passport to success. I think that us understanding what success looks like in 2021 is the sky is the limit. To every young Black and brown person that is out there that's watching this, everyone that's always been engaged with our conversations, just understand that you can do anything that you put your mind to if you just write out the vision, make it plain, and just execute it. Just like us as young urban professionals, we didn't get here overnight. We were able to really work hard. We had the right village supporting us, and we had a great support system. So understand that your network is your net worth. Gigi's not here, so I'm gonna say it. Protect your peace. That's what I'm gonna say. There we go.
Protect your peace.
Protect the peace. Love you, Gigi. So are we going clockwise?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll go. Mostly, yeah. So I'll just say that I know I was kind of playing devil's advocate today because I kind of wanted to give a different perspective and kind of show the duality and my own personal feelings and what I went through going through college. Do I think college was a great experience? Absolutely. Some of my best friends in this whole world I met through college and continue, like I said, to ride with me today. I get clients based upon these people. That's money in my pocket. So that's social capital all the way. I will say that when we're looking at mentorship with these kids and them going into school, I definitely feel as though encouragement means more than you know. Just making them feel like they're special, making them know that they can do certain things. Not everybody has the tenacity and the chutzpah, so to speak, to get on the phone and call this person and bug these people and bug these people. So that's why, again, I want to get rid of standardized testing. In my life, that is my lot in life. That is something I plan to do one day, is to build a campaign to get rid of standardized testing because it's racist, it's unfair, it's biased, and it does no good to our communities. I'm hopeful for the future generations. I think a lot of these kids growing up have their head on straight. I think they're looking at the world on a pivot in a different way than we were when we were growing up. So I'm excited for the future.
And what about you, Lawrence? I'll go last.
You're on mute.
Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, y'all. Like, Zoom problems. Do away everything Sharik said. I'm agreeing with everything everybody said today. Do away with standardized testing. I'm a proponent for doing as much schooling as you can do. If you can't pay it back, don't worry about it. Social capital is important, like Sharik was talking about. Also, networking. It doesn't mean handing out a business card. It doesn't mean spamming somebody with your music. It means building relationships and friendships and asking questions and being vulnerable. Those type of relationships will be valuable. They will add up to dollars and cents when you get older or when you're more senior in your position. And finally, I'll go even further than Sharik said. You have to have that chutzpah or that tenacity in life to get whatever you want. I don't care if it's school. I don't care if it's going into your career, business world, whatever it is. Whatever you're doing, do a tiny bit more every single day, and that will get you to where you want to go in life. So be educated by charting your own path. Again, I say school, but even if not that, stay focused, stay energetic, stay humble, stay driven, and I guarantee you 99.999% of the time, it'll always work out.
Let me go follow Gary Vee real quick. Hold on.
Gary Vee is that dude, man.
We're just going to wrap up on that, Lawrence. Everybody follow Yup Network.
Yeah.
Lawrence is ending it off great. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Sharik, do you have anything else to say?
No, just follow us. And thank you to Katharine for being our special guest co-host
thank
today.
You, special host. Let's go.
And now Katharine is the thug. I'm sorry, she's the thug of the group. From now on.
I'm First Bernardino,
All right, everybody. Thank you.